All right. Hi, everyone. It's 3 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We are so excited to have Heidi Brislin with us today to tell us about her inclusive art program. Just a few announcements before we get started. Please make sure that you keep yourself on mute throughout the webinar, unless you have something specific you'd like to add. This webinar is sponsored by the Colorado Department of Education, and they love to know who attends the programs that they sponsor. So please find and complete the sign-in form that my colleague Emily will put into the chat. Thank you, Emily. Please go fill out that sign-in form. It should take you just a couple of minutes. We've also put a link to a Google Doc from Heidi that contains lots of great resources related to today's webinar. So go find those links in the chat. And with that, I will turn it over to Heidi. Thanks so much for being here today.
Yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm so excited to share our Art for All program. It's been a passion project of mine, and to get to see it kind of grow and to get to start it and see it grow and develop has been really, really exciting. So while I'm introducing myself, if you guys just want to pop in the chat, like what your role is and just it'll show who your name is. So what your role is, so I can know kind of like who we've got here today. All right. So I'm an occupational therapist by training, and I currently work as an assistive technology specialist in the Edmonds School District. I also work for the Special Ed Tech Center here in Washington, which is similar to SWAAC for you guys. And I have a private consulting business as well. So I do some trainings, do some once in a while, some student power wheelchair evaluations. So that's a little bit about my background. I've been doing this for a really long time. And things I enjoy gardening. So this is like my favorite time of the year. Knitting, I do some encaustic painting, which is painting with wax. And I live in the Pacific Northwest, and I love to explore places out here with my husband and our two little pups. That's Hermie and Finley. So it looks like we've got a nice group here. So welcome everybody. So excited to share this with you again. So I just want to give you a little bit. I worked in a smaller school district in Washington as well. But Edmonds at a glance is a large school district. We have about almost 21,000 students, almost 13,000 teachers, 34 schools, and 134 languages spoken. So big district, lots and lots of diversity. It's been a great place to work. My other district I worked in before had like 10 schools, so a little bit different there. So what we're going to learn, there's going to be some great things I'm hoping you're going to learn today. 3 different art projects that are switch accessible, that can be incorporated into classroom activities. 3 methods for incorporating low and high-tech AAC into classroom art activities. And to be able to describe how like emergent literacy and math and science concepts can all be included and implemented as part of an art unit. So here we go. This is my little corgi. You might see him surprised on some pages. I have another friend who has a corgi, and last time we did this presentation, that's how we said whose slide it was. So I may have missed a few in going through this. So I work for the Special Ed Tech Center, and I just wanted to share that with you because there's if you go to their website, there is a ton of free professional development that anybody, regardless of what state they live in, is welcome to join. They have a great YouTube channel. Some of the concepts I may be talking, I know we have an Art for All website on there, and we have several, not website, webinar recording on there. So if you want to, if this recording hasn't come out and you want to share it with someone, there's one there as well. So here's all the ways you can check out their resources. And I'm going to start our slide deck today by giving you all a new title. So your new titles are going to be the facilitators of awe and wonder. So in Brene Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart, she talked about awe and wonder. And a good friend of mine, Brenda Del Monte, was like, I think that's kind of what we do. And I was like, you're right. Basically, wonder fuels the passion for exploring, learning, curiosity, and adventure. And so that's like our job, is to kind of figure out how to like make things like exciting and fun and engaging for our students. And then we get to stand back in awe and watch the magic happen when it all comes together. So, whether you're a teacher, parent, therapist, you can go back and say, I have a new title, that you're a facilitator of On Wonder. Okay, so where we start is we presume every child's potential, and that equals those awe and wonder opportunities. And I love this little graphic where we're talking about other words for presume. So assume, suppose, guess, presuppose, surmise, dare, believe, venture, think, imagine. And so especially when we're looking at our students with very complex and extensive support needs, definitely like, believing and thinking they can do it and just imagining a different way for them to do it is just really, really important. Um, And so one of the things I want to talk about is authentic art matters. And you can pop in the chat here. What do you think parents think if they have a child with a physical disability and they bring home this art project? You can go ahead and share in the chat. I'll give you a second to type. Who did it? The teacher did it. Someone else did it. Nice art by an adult. Perfect. Seriously, my kid did that. That's right. So, what happens when this comes home? Excitement. Look what my child did. Sometimes I think they're embarrassed. Fun, cool. That's my kid. Um, this was a student who they were making a monster, and so this is her monster. And parents are so excited when they're like, the kids made the choices for how many popsicle sticks and where they go, and they've directed the caregiver or um, someone says they let parents know if it's original or if they received help. That's awesome. Um, it's hard to know what's happening in this one, but it's authentic art. And that's kind of where, I am. It's like, let's make it authentic. Couple of quotes here that I just think are so important to think about when we're thinking about children's art. Imagine telling Picasso where to glue his googly eyes. And what a loss we'd have to our world if someone said, you can't do your art like this, Picasso. So really looking at being mindful. It doesn't really matter where they go, it's where they want to put them. And then this, as an OT, really like hits home with me. It's like when you cut it for me, write it for me, open it for me, set it up for me, draw it for me, or find it for me. All I learn is that you do it better than me. And I really believe that, as educators, we need to figure out how to empower the students to do this. If they're not physically able to do it, the activity can't be switch adapted. We want to teach them how to direct someone else to do it. So there's a way, I believe, if you look carefully at any activity happening in a classroom, you can figure out how to modify it so our switch users can definitely engage in those. And regardless of what a student's support needs are, everyone can create authentic art. This is my friend David, and he has a teeny tiny bit of eye and head movement to the left. And that's really about the only movement he has control of. He spends part of the day in a wheelchair, part of the day in a hospital bed. And so we were doing our first unit on acrylic pours, and I basically carried the jugs over and had him pick the colors, with him giving me a look to the left for yes. And then he picked what order they went in the paint, and I set him up and I said, I'm gonna put this drop cloth on you. It's gonna be kind of crazy here. Just bear with me. And so I got him all set up. And he poured the paint. He poured the paint independently, and then he will kind of move the trays, and he would let us know kind of like when, and like, I'm going to tilt it this way. Is that okay? And he's like, yes. And so, um, we would do that. So super excited. You'll see some more pictures of David as we go through here. Um, and so when I think about David, I think about imagine being filled with all that emotion and unable to express how you feel. That's what many of our children with disabilities face. And art allows them to freely express their feelings. And it was so fun when, part of our units or they name their art. And it is so much fun to see them, through their colors and their name selection, what they come up with. All right. So why do art? Anybody want to pop in there? Why is art important? Expression, free expression, creative outlet, release of tension, good. Communication, joy, engaging with your environment, getting emotions out. And it's just plain fun. Yes, so many things. Eye hand coordination, expressing yourself, critical thinking, strengthens communities. Dawn, you're like right on the mark there. Mental health, fine motor and sensory. I love it. I love it. Mind body connection, good. So those are all great reasons. This is a friend of mine who you'll see a picture of here in a little bit. She's an adult, and because of our art program, one of my counterparts started showing her how to do the acrylic pours. And so she's a young woman in a wheelchair, uses switches. And the other thing she does is she directs her caregiver. So sometimes she won't use the switches. She'll just say, hey, I want you to get this color paint. I want you to pour it here. I want you to tilt the canvas this way. And this is one of her pieces. And her quote I just loved. I never thought art would be a way to learn to advocate for myself, but I'm so glad it was. So learning how to direct others has really helped her as an adult be able to advocate for herself. So, so important. Um, so I'm not going to read through all of these, but there are national art standards that basically say students with special needs need to be taught, art. So I'll let you kind of look through those. It's often required for graduation. And anyway, so look through those guidelines, and the website's still active, so they're still in place, I'm going to assume. So yeah, so that's it's not only does it meet all of those wonderful things you all talked about and shared in the chat, it's also something that, we're mandated to teach all students. One of the things I want to bring up is the classroom reality. So I'm in the classrooms every day, and our students with complex needs need a lot of caregiving, and staffing is in short supply. There's a lot to teach. There's so many goal areas to address. So how can I fit in one more activity? Um, some people are just not sure how to adapt the activity for some of our switch users. Some of them don't even know how switches work, and budgets for supplies is limited. Those are all the reality. They're the reality I face every day, and I know that you guys face as well. Um, and I think sometimes like our general education and special ed teachers think I have to kind of do this on my own. And these students require a lot of support, and it takes a village, it takes a team, and partnerships between like their art teacher, if your school has an art teacher, and the special ed teacher, the gen ed teacher, all your related services personnel, to figure out how to adapt things and make them work. It's something that you don't have to go alone. So definitely go with a committee. All right. And again, some of the skills you guys talked about, these are skills that students develop. There's cognitive development, physical development, problem solving, critical thinking, learning and goal setting, and those social skills, which you'll see some pictures of just some fun social activities, just some social interactions with the kids. And with art, there's no right or wrong answer. It's perfect every time. And they just create it and share it and, can appreciate what they've done. And that's really so fun to witness. Um, it also teaches important lifelong skills like agency, like I can do something hard, I can do something complex. I can, like you guys talked about, expression, communication, participation, exploring, learning. We anchor each of our units around a book. So we are working on literacy skills. It can be individualized, it can be works on the whole student. They learn really abstract concepts and they can self-advocate, like Drew talked about. So many things you can do right with art that fall right into their IEP goals. So this is a part of my village. It waxes and wanes from 12 of us to 3 of us, depending on the month and the what's going on. So we started a committee to look at developing this. So we call ourselves the Art for All Committee, and it involves all sorts of team players. So everybody with lots of roles. I think right now it's mostly OTs, PTs, and we've got several SLPs on our group as well. And definitely coordinating with like your building and district administrators and kind of helping them see that it's really important. When designing this program, it was really important for us to use the concepts of universal design for learning so that we could create activities and projects that worked for everyone. So we talked about that first bullet point. Our units include everything: reading, writing, communicating, math, social skills, you name it. And most of the students we serve have goals in those areas. So we're doing an activity that's fun and engaging, and a little bit messy and crazy, that is actually working towards their IEP goals. A lot of the students that we serve, for in our special ed classrooms, have emergent literacy skills. And so we're working on helping them develop those emergent literacy skills. Classmate skill levels vary widely, especially when we're in a gen ed class doing the art. I mean, it varies. It's, anything and everything you see. And so the goal was to create something that could be modified to work for all students. And I think we've done that. So I'm really proud of that. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Dr. Karen Erickson and Dr. David Koppenhaver's work, Comprehensive Literacy for All. If you don't have this book, this is probably the most priceless thing in my book collection. Let's see. In fact, this is what my book looks like. I use it all the time. And it talks about teaching emergent reading skills and going from emergent to conventional reading skills and looking at these 5 skills you need to teach, including shared reading, shared writing, alphabet knowledge and phonological awareness, independent reading, and independent writing. And so we really looked at our units trying to come up with ways to incorporate all of those things as well. So these are just a few of the tools you need. We've got our voice output button, which we use all the time. Switch adapted scissors. I usually don't put them on this thing. I usually have someone just hold the scissor and the kid operates the switch and makes them go. Lots and lots of canvases. Paint. This switch adapted pouring tool is like a must, and some type of book. And then we use for our students who are unable to hold a pencil or have another way to sign their name, we use the alternative pencil for that as well, which we'll go into that a little bit more. All right. Any questions while we're here? I think hopefully I'll answer them all. But I'm going to start before I start talking about the projects, talk about budget. So if you have some questions, feel free to pop it in the chat or unmute. And if not, I'll just keep going. Okay, so let's talk about budget. I'm going to tell you that other than our time to work and develop the program, the Edmonds School District has not paid for any of our equipment except for some switches and stuff that we had kind of laying, some of the switch stuff that we use. But as far as like getting the art equipment and the books and stuff, because when we started our planning committee, we were looking at places that we could get a grant. And so we have a very generous school district foundation and wrote a grant for that, for a school-wide grant, and received that grant to get started. And then we received that grant for like a couple of years, and we started right away doing like an annual showcase and auction. And we raised between like, I think this year was 1,100 to like $2,000 a year for that, that goes back into our art program. So let's talk about some funding kind of options. So when you're writing a grant, there's just I'm gonna give you a page of do's and don'ts. Know what you want to do and know why it's important and a rough idea of how you're going to go about it. You don't have to have like most grants, you don't have to have exactly how you're going to go about it, but if you have a pretty good idea and can articulate that, that is very important for your grant. Know the focus of your grant and make sure that it fits within the scope of that grant and that you talk about that specifically. Um, Give background data. Those national art standards are a great thing to include in your grant and talk about why this project is important. And you'll have all that information after we're done today. Be specific when answering the grant questions, like little short responses aren't going to get you the grant. You want to be really specific. And then check with your district or organization that you work with to see if there are any special procedures about grant writing. So ours have to go through like an approval process. So before you start working on that grant, make sure it's a grant that your district is going to let you apply for, and you've gone through all the right channels for that. Um, don't don't wait until the last minute to get started. It's stressful. You're probably not going to put your best grant work together. Again, don't give vague answers. Don't be vague when you're describing the items you want in the budget. You want to be specific, like what you want to get. And usually there's a little bit of give and take within the budget, when the grant, once you get it. But, be specific. If you're saying switch adapted tools, they don't know what those are. So talk about what the switch adapted tools you need are. It's great to do it with a team, so you have others people's input to help you, but you certainly can go at it alone if you need to. And don't forget to add the in-kind contribution from your district or organization. So does anybody know what that is? I didn't. I had to look it up. So what it is, it's those things like your labor, like our district is paying for our labor. So our hourly rate, you figure out kind of about what the hourly rate is going to be. And you put that in. The cost of all of the adapted equipment that you have in district that you're going to be using. Those are all kind of things that you need to put in for the in-kind, because that lets the grant, the funding organization know that, the district has your support in doing, you have the district support in doing that. And the other thing I want to tell you to do is don't forget to use AI to help you with this. So, if you have some time, go into whatever AI search engine you use, and you can say, write a grant for an inclusive art program, can be your thing, and it'll spit you out like the parts of the grant. And it's pretty well done. The other thing I do is a lot of times I'll come up with like what my statement is and my idea and what I want to do. And I'll just have it like write each section, and then I'll add more and fix it, and then ask it to, based on that information, write the next section of the grant and then fix that. It's never perfect, but it at least gets you a good starting point. It's also great for titles. So if you want to call it Art for All, it will not hurt my feelings at all. Please do that. If you are trying to come up with another title, it's great for coming up with titles. That's like one of my favorite things to do. And these are some possible grant sources. I checked them all. The ones that are on here are all active. The Safeway Albertsons Foundation, the one I found was for the Seattle area, but the Shaw's Foundation covered Colorado as well. So I know Safeway Albertsons has some nationwide, but I've received the Safeway Albertsons grant. I've received Title X grants from our local tribal nations. I've had PTSA grants, our school district foundation. So these are some that look like, that would be, I haven't had to apply for all of these. NEA is another great place to get a grant as well. So those are some of the top ones I'd hit. All right, and so what I've given you to in your slide deck is the link to a sample of our Art for All grant. And so you can use that as your building block for whatever you want to do for your program. So I had a friend attend a session I did at Closing the Gap on this topic, and she went back and she used the grant and fixed it up for her things, and she was able to get a grant through one of her local art agencies to start a program in her district, which was super exciting. So I'm going to give you like 5 minutes to just review our grant and think a little bit about what you could use for writing a grant in your setting. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes here to look through that. Also, in that 5 minutes, you can pop something in Chat GPT and see what happens as well. So that's another option. All right. Nobody needs to hear um, the information. So let's see, we've got a couple comments in the chat. Let me check those. So Dawn talked about letters of support or collaboration from other team members or the community really help with lending credibility to your grant. Um, Deb commented on the letter format, and she's in an arts integration school, which gives her a head start on a lot of aspects, but she loves the idea of getting high quality art supplies for projects of a more permanent nature. Nice, awesome. Yeah, so I hope, did anybody try the AI? What did you think, Diana? You can unmute if you want.
I thought it was a great start because I've written grants before, and it's definitely like would make life a lot easier. And I couldn't use it like word for word, but you could definitely modify it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a nice way to kind of just get you started is kind of what I find. I don't use it word for word either. Um, yeah, and then just talking about like parent interest surveys. We haven't quite done the parent interest surveys yet, but I'll tell you kind of what's up on the agenda for us coming up here. Parents are super excited. And then just the collaboration has been really, really super fun. Yeah, and involving the community with our art show and auction. So, all right, so let's go on. We got lots to cover here. So key elements to remember. So, this is my friend Drew who did the quote, and this was the first time she ever painted. She's using a switch behind her elbow. She lives interdependently in an apartment near attached to one of our local malls, and she has become an amazing artist. So this is what she does all the time. And so I have this because this is Drew. So you know who Drew is. These were her talks about hand over hand assistance. And I think a lot of times I'll talk about how we shouldn't do it and why we shouldn't do it. And I thought, what a much better way person to hear it from than someone who's experienced it throughout their life. And so, what Drew has to say about hand over hand assistance is that personal space is often overlooked, leading to discomfort and lack of autonomy, especially in social or educational settings. The hand over hand method, often used with good intentions, can feel condescending and undermine a person's independence and abilities. And many helpers may prioritize their own feelings of accomplishment over the genuine needs and preferences of the person they're assisting. I had a therapist once tell me, it was an occupational therapist, believe it or not, that the parents deserve to have pretty art come home. Like when the parents did the art. And I was like, so I was like, don't you think they should be doing part of it themselves? You know? Um, anyway, and she also talks about it being crucial to reflect on whether your actions truly help someone or inadvertently make them feel inadequate. So always consider the individual preferences. And I just think that is so, so powerful. Um, and so please feel free to share her words because I just think they're so much more powerful than anything any of us can say. Um, and Inclusive Occupations has a question about getting into the gen ed art class involved as well. And let me, so in our elementary schools in our district, we do not have like a gen ed art class. So there's like the teachers, the art docents, and different things. Initially, we started as very small in our self-contained classes. And my dream was to do it in an inclusive classroom. And so our district, our is behind where I would love to see them be with inclusion, but we are making strides forward. And so at the end, I'll share a little bit about doing this in a third grade inclusive class this year. So that was like a dream come true. And it was just really, really, really phenomenal. So other things that are important for us to remember is communication is a human right and there's no prerequisite for that. A lot of things that we're doing, they're actually learning how to use their AAC when we're doing it. and keeping things like we talked about meaningful, highly motivating, and multisensory. Kids want to talk when it's like that. Looking at robust AAC, and here's a robust AAC checklist. We have an AAC framework that I'm sharing with you that we have used like a three-tiered approach to what we use for AAC. And then a robust AAC checklist. So AAC is a must. Um, I make sure like all the students in my district get taught a yes, no response, whether it's voice, body language, switches, visual symbols, using the voice output buttons. And that really makes a big difference in their ability to participate in art. And then we have core boards everywhere. We made a special core board and included a bunch of art kind of things on it. So they were right on that front page. So we had like colors and shapes and all the tools and stuff. But as often as we can, we try to use like their communication system. Now, this is my favorite thing, and I think I'm going to coin the term, but I love to use these step-by-steps as bossy buttons. So if your student or learner is not able to you can't figure out how to modify the switch activity, or the switch isn't working, because that always happens, something's not working right. You can take these buttons and you can turn them into like more, keep going, you're not done yet, or pour that paint. Come on, get it pouring. I can't wait to see it pour. And so you can record multiple things on there, and you can have them be kind of silly and sassy, and they love that. And then you can have one that, okay, we're finished. And so like your yes one, if you have one that's like a yes, they can pick their colors, tell me yes when we get to the color you want. So that's a great I love them. They're have just been a game changer for so many of our students. Most of them we set up with our non-speaking students set up with a sassy yes and no switch that's connected to wherever they can access their switches, and they have them all day to engage in their academics. And it's really helping us discover really what they know, which is so much. You want to create all-encompassing lessons. So you want to do something where you're just not going in and doing art. You're doing stuff that needs to work on the goals that they're working towards. And so kind of how ours goes, so many of our students uh, don't come to us. They may be from different countries or have different abilities and communication skills. And so they don't come from that with the same background knowledge that our kids, that a lot of kids come with. And so one of the main goals of our 4-week unit is we want to build that background knowledge. So we're going to read the book and do a small art project that talks about, help to learn the concepts and the vocabulary around the book. So our whole group is having a common background knowledge. And then the second week, we read it again, and there's another small project. And then the third week, we do the big art project that pertains to a concept in the book. And then the fourth week, they title their work, and they title it and they sign their name to their art. And so this is another great place where we're working on, let's talk about what people title their art. Here's some options. Let's dig in your AAC device if you're an AAC user, and let's figure out, where those things are. And then again, signing their name. If they can write their name, that's good. If they can't write their name, I'll show you a friend of mine using an alternative pencil here, naming her art. Um, Tips, we create a slide deck. So the teacher or the team doing the art has all the information right there. You are welcome to use ours. You're going to get access to all the ones we have created so far. You can selfishly use them exactly as they are, or you can modify them selflessly, I guess is the word I wanted. Use them, or you can modify them for whatever works for yours. And then my big tip is practice everything before you take it in the classroom, because there's nothing worse than getting in there and not having the tool work. So and are not knowing exactly how it works. So we have a switch adapted caulking gun. And so, if you're going to be doing that activity, you need to know how it works and how to use it. So practice with all of those things. So this is our Art for All lesson guide. I'm going to open that up. And so we have 5 units right now, and we're working on adding, we probably have like 5 in the works. It just takes a while to add the units. So for the dot, the contest between the wind and the sun, we've adapted a huge spin art, which is kind of crazy. Emmy's gift and whose footprint is that? When you click on the hyperlink, you will go to a landing page that kind of describes everything. The whose footprint was a new unit this year, and so after I did it with a 3rd to 6th grade class, I realized for our middle school and high school students, and maybe even if we're doing this in more of a gen ed classroom than we definitely need a different book. And so this Who's Here is a great age respectful book for older students. And then this one, when you click on the hyperlink, you're going to go to the shared drive for that. Eventually we'll have a landing page, but it's Are You My Monster? And so this is also the same reason, Are You My Monster? This one is a board book, simple vocabulary, and I Need a Monster has much more rich vocabulary. And then we have a little form, a Google form that teams fill out and request what units that they want to do. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to just dive in and explore, pick 1 or 2 of the units. You probably won't get through all of them in 5. I'm going to be going through the dot unit pretty carefully. So if you want to look at some of the others, but I'm going to give you 5 minutes to look through those. Might be less than 5 minutes, but I'll give you a few minutes to do that. How about we go for 3? All right, I'm going to stop you there just so we can get through all the content, but at least if you have them open, you can look at them when we're done. So let's talk about the dot. Um, so I'm going to tell you, this is our 4th year doing the Art for All program. So the it is built from just being one little piece. So the first year and most of the second year, all we did was the dot. Um, and so these are kind of concepts that are incorporated in all of our units. So there's shared reading, where you comment, you ask, and kind of ask for the participation and wait and respond with more information. We model AAC the whole time for the students who need to use that. Not every student, I designed it to be accessible for the people who need the most support and impact, but it's accessible for everyone. So just making sure we had that group of students that just need more support in mind. We have the child make the dot. This is what we use the first time to make the dot. I do not recommend you spend any time purchasing this thing. It's a musical instrument kind of thing. It's very noisy and it's just really, really hard to use, but that's what we had. So sometimes I'll buy like a little robot kind of thing that will twirl, that little stem kit that we make and switch adapt. For that, we use an alternative pencil to sign the art, and then the art is all hung up on the classroom walls during the whole time of the project. So nothing's like made and gets sent home. It's celebrated by the classroom. So this is our first day of people doing the dot. So super fun. This is students making a dot. So this is my friend Ashlyn, and she's using her bossy buttons to tell her adult partner what color she wants the dot, where she wants the dot put, how many dots she wants when she's finished. And you can tell she's just like loving it. So students getting to boss adults around is just perfect. The next week we do the acrylic pours. So my friend here has a little switch kind of reminding us to do more pour the paint. We've read the book. She's made her color choices. I'm showing her that we're mixing it up here. She chooses what color goes in the pouring cup first. And then the switch activity, we always have a fun switch activity for most of the projects, and it's it's definitely engaging because they're participating in the whole thing. So it's just like it's so much fun to just see their faces when the paint starts pouring, and just the excitement and engagement of the student. It's really just magical. And then it's for all abilities. So, I've got my students here who can use their hands to do the whole process. This is a teacher who we still had the gowns in the classroom from COVID. And so definitely we all had gowns, and I still keep a gown that I put on because I'm just messy. I get right in there. We had this old guy who needed to be a switch user. This is another gal who could independently tilt her pan. So it definitely designed for all abilities. And then lesson 4 is naming and signing their art. And we talked about this a little bit already. And these are this is one of our friends sharing her art. We share it after we name and title it. And so this gal I love. So we were going through her AAC, and rainbow is what she chose to be the title of her art. And then she was using an alternative pencil, which is all 26 letters of the alphabet. And this is what she signed as her name. And so I will just leave that as their name, and maybe on the back of the paper, put what their name is. And in the art show and auction we have, it goes on, is this their name? And then in parentheses, I just put their correctly spelled name, so people know who it's from. But have any of you used alternative pencils, or are aware of them at all? You can just do a thumbs up or put something in the chat. I have. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go through this. So If you want to learn more about doing this, the Center for Disability and Literacy Studies has some great information. I also have a webinar on the Special Ed Tech Center's website that you can watch as well. So the adult offers the letters, and then the student selects the letter they want. So if they're at a real emergent level and are not super familiar, and they don't need to know the letters, they're just scribbling, working on scribbling. So you like, do you want an A? No. Do you want a B? Yeah, so I'm going to write that B down. And you go through the alphabet in order. As they get faster, you can be, is it on the A page? No. Is it on the B page? Yes. Is it B? Not B page, E page. Is it E? No. F? Yes. So they get to be quicker, and they learn to use the alphabet, and they learn the alphabet letters and the letter sounds through using it. And there's no prerequisite to starting with this, and there are no wrong answer. I had one teacher, the student only would pick the letter A. And I'm like, well, next time if he picks two letters, that's like a, 50% improvement. So, we're just going to take what they'll give us when we start. This is my friend, Ashlyn, and she's using the alternative pencil. So I'm going to share this video because I think you can kind of see what it's like in action. She has two proximity switches, one on each side of her head, connected to those sassy yes and no's.
Your name, do you want an F?
Jungle Lake Rock, or do you want to say Yellow Rock? Any other letters? Hold on.
Nope. Do you want a G?
Look at me. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna put a G. All right, do you want another G?
Yellow Rock. Yeah. Yellow Rock.
Hard pass. All right, do you want an H?
Yellow Rock. Got a G. Nice job. Yep.
All right, let's put an H.
Yellow Rock.
Okay, I'm gonna turn the page. Do you want an, oh, I already got a no thanks for I. Do you want a J?
You are the artist. And these are the letters.
I see you looking towards that one. I'm gonna say that's a hard pass too.
Are we finished?
Do you want a K?
Hold on. We gotta figure out how to do that. Are we done with our alternative pencil?
And then here she starts to realize that someone's recording. And so then we kind of lose her there. But that's how they work. So this was like one of her first times using the alternative pencil. She actually got several letters in her name. This was the first group, the first year we did the art, what the art looked like. This was at the school art show. Oops. I'm going to go back one to Ashlyn. Later, I'm going to leave it right here. So later in the year, Ashlyn, who you saw naming her art, her last art that she did, like for the art show a year later, the one that she did, she named it Want Not. We're like, okay, that's an interesting name that she found in her AAC device with some adult support. And then she wrote the initials AF, and our SLP was like so excited to like have her write all these letters with the alternate pencil. And those are her initials. She was an 8th grader. What 8th grader wants to do more work than they have to? I don't think she wanted to title it, is what she was trying to tell us with her Want Not. So yeah, I love the alternative pencils. So quickly run through the next units. We have about 5 minutes, and then I'll stay later for any questions. Again, we're doing the same kind of thing. We have a switch accessible wind dancer to where they can learn about concepts of the wind, which is pretty fun. This video, I'll show just a tiny bit of it. We're doing a shared reading, and here you can see the wind dancer. And I don't have time to show the whole thing, but we weren't sure quite what he was taking in and what he was processing. And when I started reading about the sun, and his voice output button was making comments about the wind. And when I started reading about the sun, he hit the button once and I said, it is not windy anymore. The sun is out, but the wind will be back. And he stopped. And then when we came back to the wind, he started activating that switch. And we learned so much about what that young man was taking in and processing. So that was super exciting. The second week, we use wind spinners. We use some switch adapted scissors and a power link and a fan or blow dryer to make them spin. And they can use markers or daubers, bossy buttons like we've talked about, or their AAC to direct others. And this is our giant spin art that we've made. And so we've got the switch adapted pouring tool. We've got a really old power link back here. We've got a latch timer because you need the thing to spin for about 20 seconds. And it's hard to keep someone holding the switch that long. And so the latch timer lets us set it so it'll spin for about 20 seconds. This is kind of what it looked like for our first time we did it, where they came in and picked their colors. It looks different in every classroom. And then here you can see someone named it Sad Outside Jungle. And just and then this was how Sophia signed her name with all of these letters. So so much time learning, just scribbling. And you can see my friend here, super excited and proud of his art. Emmy's gift, same kind of things. So here's kind of what we do. This was recently in a middle school classroom, and just the conversations happening between these kids was so much fun as they were like melting, and it ended up being beautiful. It's the first time we've done the ice melting. But this one has like ice melting. There's a perler bead project where we're just learning about the concepts of melting. The big project is crayon melting, which is encaustic painting. We're melting wax. Lots of vocabulary, lots of shared background knowledge. One of the things you can also do is Emmy has a bird that she has in Emmy's gift, she's putting things in the water, and someone on the other side of the world is taking them out, and they're going back and forth. And so one of the things she puts is her bird. And we decorated the birds, did collage or coloring or whatever you wanted to do on those. And that was super fun. Here's some of the kiddos doing the crayon melting. We hold the crayon with a fork and then the blow dryer. And then the power link lets us make it switch accessible for our switch users. This is what some of the melting art looks like. Again, whose footprint is that? Same kind of thing. So there's like shared reading, concept development, common ground and background knowledge building, tracing and decorating the bottom of your shoe. And then we do clay footprints and then footprint stamping art. So here's a little bit of our art there. This was a switch adapted kitty that we dipped her footprints in paint, and then she painted, the kitty painted with the switch. And then the last one was our monster unit. And this was some of the activities. And then these were our monsters, which were my favorite. And the beauty of inclusive classrooms. So this was our third grade classroom, and everybody had a communication, an AAC, light tech core board. And it's hard to tell really which students require special help and which don't. You got a little telltale here because we had the iPad. But look at how engaged and how much fun everyone was having. It was just such a remarkable thing. And these were the collaborative art pieces that they did in that classroom. This is a picture of our what our art show looks like in auction that we do through our foundation. We always do a certificate to honor all of our artists. And that is it. So I can't wait to hear what you guys end up doing. So I'm going to stop the share, and you can unmute for questions, or those of you who need to go, I hope you find some great things to do. I'm not quite sure what happened here. There we go. Yeah, we just had our art show on Sunday. So we just had our art show for this year. So that was fun.
Have any final questions for Heidi? I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. Lots of people are saying thank you and they really appreciate all of these resources.
And part of why our group decided to just share them is things are hard enough in special ed, and it's, really nice to be able to just have here we go, I'm going to this class and here it's all here done for us. And so I know we appreciate when we get that information, but if you end up doing something, please share.
I'm sorry, I was late. Did you give us a resource of where to find some of this art equipment?
I'm not sure if I have that I was just thinking about, I'm not sure if I have it on the landing page or not. But Sharon, if you want to just zip me an email, I can send you something, and I can also send that to Claire that she can send out to everybody.
Thanks.
Have you tried
All
anything
right,
with,
thank you, Heidi. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jerry.
yeah, have you tried anything with like adaptive switches with cameras, or even like smartphones or anything like that with
We
doing?
have done some with the students' iPads where they're taking pictures and stuff, and selfies with their iPads, or they're taking pictures of like slide decks that they're putting together. We use Book Creator a lot. What our third grade class ended up doing is using Book Creator and created a book about their whole experience in doing art for all. So yeah, so we have done that. Not a ton through our art project, but just stuff that kind of happens with kids who use switches in our district in general. But a photography project would be an awesome one.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Heidi, how did you adapt the caulk gun? Was that manual or electric?
I found a battery operated one, and we put a battery interrupter in it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. This was fantastic. Your program is amazing. I hope we get to hear about some new inclusive art projects out of Colorado in the coming months and years that are launched from all of the amazing information and resources that you shared with us today. I know you've given me some resources for our SWAC loan library, so thank you.
Awesome.
One last time, if anybody has not signed in yet, please find that sign-in link in the chat before you hop off. Thanks to all of you for coming today, and thank you again, Heidi, for sharing your time and expertise.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Anytime.